Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you are watching us from. I'm Comfort Eyitayo, your regular host for Connect with Comfort show. On this program, we aim to add value to people, business, enterprise, as well as personal growth. It is indeed my pleasure to welcome you today, and I'm glad you are able to join us. You are most welcome. Today, we are exploring a topic that holds immense relevance in our ever evolving economic landscape, and that is time for strategic pivots. I take that again, it's time for strategic pivots. As we know, change is the only constant. And in our world today, we are witnessing economic, technological, and societal shifts that are not only altering the way we do our businesses, but also challenging the resilience and adaptability of our institutions as well as industries. As we look around, we see signs of transformation everywhere. Technological advances, market disruption, shifting consumer expectations, runaway inflation, and unforeseen global challenges, all requiring us to reevaluate our path. But while all this can make us feel highly overwhelmed, it also presents tremendous opportunities. A strategic pivot that helps to make intentional shifts in direction to adapt, grow, and thrive will be the change that we need to respond to the current situation. Yes, I said change. Change may not just be a response to crisis. Change can also be a proactive move that can position us ahead of the curve, ensuring resilience, relevance, and renewed growth. Today, we shall discuss what it means to pivot strategically, to be willing to look at our strengths and redefine them, and to identify new ways to serve, grow, as well as succeed. So please remain connected. We already have our guest in the house that will help us to shed more insight on today's topic. We'll be right back after this short break. Thank you.
Being relevant in your field of occupation is proof that you are properly educated. When my parents and I were thinking about my university education, Owen University Iwo was our first choice. Owen University helps you to get the most of whatever course you're studying and also educates you on how to excel in a competitive labor market. From the day I arrived here, I knew when I would graduate, and my mind has been positively transformed since then, thanks to my able lecturers. My name is Salome. I am a medical student, a sanctuary keeper, and a violinist at Boluwatife University. To the medical world, remember my name.
Bowen University for excellence and godliness.
You are welcome back. Like I said before the short break, our guest is already in the house. Our guest is no other than Boluwatife David. Let us meet Boluwatife David. Boluwatife David, FIMC, CMC, is a certified management consultant and a fellow of the Institute of Management Consultants. He is also a member of the Nigerian Institute of Training and Development, Institute of Strategic Management, Nigeria, and also Bolu is a high performance coach stroke trainer. Aside from designing and delivering training interventions for several organizations across different industries like banking, real estate, NGO, pensions, logistics, investment, insurance, telecommunication, and the likes. He has worked with different individuals and business owners to formulate strategies that have increased their profitability and growth within the space of their industry and enables them to have a large market share. Boluwatife David has spoken at different conferences, seminars, and workshops, and been hosted multiple times on TVC Wake Up Nigerian Show, City FM, Ray Power FM, on their SME support program, also on Ebony Live TV, the Crunch Investigate, where he spoke on different topics focused on high performance in leadership, business, career, and finance, as well as for individual lives. At present, he is the CEO stroke lead consultant at High Performance Consulting. Please join me in making welcome our special guest for today, Mr. Boluwatife David.
Good good evening, ma'am. Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to be here.
Thank you very much. Incidentally, Boluwatife is not a stranger on this program. He's been on our program before, so we can double appreciate him for always willing to share his time and insights with us, for allowing us to tap into his vast wealth of experience. So once again, I welcome you, Boluwatife.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
So we'll go straight to the interview segment by asking, what key indicators do you think will suggest that the time is ripe for us to strategically pivot in our businesses or organization?
All right. Thank you very much for having me once again, and thank you very much for the question. The truth of the matter is that the concept of pivoting in business is something that is very important and something that every business needs to take very seriously. Whilst it's important for us to also talk about the indicators that will let you know when it is time for you to pivot or pivot, as the case may be, I think it's also very important for us to lay some necessary foundations where we're able to make people understand exactly what it means, where we talk about business pivoting, right, or what strategic pivoting means in business. And to explain what the concept means in itself, I always, always, always love to use this game called pole vaulting, right? I'm sure everybody that is on this call will know what a pole vaulting game is. When I was younger, I didn't know it was called pole vaulting. We call it the stick ice, right? Where you have to use a pole to propel yourself up to jump on a particular order. Now, the concept of pivoting, it's like the concept of pole vaulting. Now, in pole vaulting, the game is such that the height of what you want to jump is higher than what you would naturally be able to leap above by yourself. As a result, there is a need for you to bring an external factor as a propelling force that makes it possible for you to leap over, this seemingly unsurmountable hurdle. So,
Mhm.
height that by yourself you cannot jump, then you bring an external factor that becomes your propeller to be able to this seemingly unsurmountable height. Right? The same thing is applicable to business, where you have gotten to a point where you think that there is a need for you to lift an order that is higher than something that you would have been able to do naturally, and then there's a need to introduce something new that will make it possible for you to leap up what you have in front of you. That is the first way to look at it. The second thing that also is observable from the game of pole vaulting is that usually professionals, when they do it, usually the pole that they are going to use as a pivot is usually longer than the person that is holding it for pivoting. That's one. Number two, the tip of the pole round. Generally, what they would bend backwards, right? Leaning in the flexibility of the pole such that the pole can carry their weight up and dump them on the other side. The concept of pole vaulting is that you need to first of all lean into the pole, bend backwards so that it can lift your weight. These are the principles of pivoting in business as well. Number one, you bring something new into. So number one is that you have a goal that you're trying to achieve that is looking as though it's insurmountable. Number two is that you bring in an external factor, you bring in an edge that did not exist before into the equation. Number three is that you lean to it. At the point where you are leaning into the pole, it's almost like somebody that doesn't understand that game is wondering. You are supposed to jump. Guess what? You are bending down. It's almost that in that moment you gave up on trying to jump on the hurdle so that you can jump, right? So the same thing happens in pivoting in business, where you have to lean into the element that you brought in that moment. For somebody that is looking at you from outside, it's almost as though you gave up on trying to achieve your goal, but suddenly we discover leaping over it. So the concept of pivoting is similar to the concept of pole vaulting as a game. The question then is to the question that you asked: what are the indicators that let you know that it's time for you to pivot or
That's
move on?
it.
The first thing is that the challenge you have is not surmountable. That if you continue our operations the way we have been running, the probability that we are going to achieve our set strategic objectives have become unsure. That is number one. Number two is that we are dragging, we are meant to be cabling at a speed of 120 kilometers per hour as a business, but right now we are traveling at a speed of 10 kilometers per hour. In that moment, for us to sit down and say, is there a problem with our vehicle? Is there a problem with our driver? Is there a problem with the element of the road that we are traveling on itself? So in that moment, when we are not traveling as fast as we need to travel, there is a need for us to slow down and then begin to consider the possibility of pivoting. The third reason, or the third indicator that it is time to pivot, is when it's almost as though something is happening to your industry, right? And it's almost as though that industry is gradually going into extinction. Let me give you a very good example right now. The hospitality industry, particularly the hotel business, is going through a big industrial change right now because of the arrival of Airbnb. The same way the industry of taxi was heavily challenged a couple of years ago with the arrival of Uber, right? That is the same way the hotel industry is being challenged right now by the advent of Airbnb, such that research and data is already showing us that the number of people using Airbnb is already the same number of people using hotels. What does that mean? Hotel owners do not think of their business, it becomes very possible that in a very short period of time, that industry is going to go into extinction or is not as vibrant as it because of different things that is happening with that industry. So the third thing, like I said, is that is an indicator to when there is a need for us to pivot, is when the industry we are operating in to be having some fundamental challenges or seem to be becoming obsolete. The fourth indicator that we are supposed to pivot, competition has become really stiff. The competition is becoming fire for fire. It's almost like as innovating, they are innovating, doing this, that is happening. It's almost like you are playing catch up in your industry, right? It's like everything is running ahead of you. You are back. That is another indicator for say maybe it is time for us as a business to pivot. So these are some of the indicators that are me, but are just very few ones I believe that people can identify with, that can quickly see that, oh, why, or maybe we need to our business right now. Yeah.
Fantastic, fantastic. You have actually taken question one and two together. But the key point that is quite interesting, that's why I didn't stop you. The key point that we should note, like he has told us, is giving us 4 solid reasons on as indicators how we will get to know when it's time for us to make that change or pivot. Our current situation in alignment with our strategic goals and vision. The industry change that he has given example of hotel and Airbnb, as well as Uber and taxi. Then the stiff competition that is happening there, and the challenges that could occur at any time in any economy, which we are having a fair share in Nigeria, I would say, right now. So those are the circumstances, and I'm sure we can identify with all these, one or two of the points he has raised. So let's bear that in mind. So, like I said, the second question, which is to examine when disruptions like this would make us to decide, had already been covered. So the next question I want to ask is, what untapped opportunities could a pivot allow us to capitalize on, and what are the potential risks?
Okay. So when it comes to opportunities in business, right? Opportunities are infinite. one of the things I always say to people is that there is never a time when a business at peak, they have just gotten to a point where the business owners decided that they are not interested in doing so much, right? So I am saying that to say that when it comes to opportunities that a business can tap into through the lens of pivoting, the opportunities are infinite. Number one, it can, when you pivot, it can help you enter a new market entirely. That sense, this market did not explore, then suddenly a new market is coming your way. Let me use a very good example that's coming to my mind right now. Suddenly, Dangote as a company launched a refinery, right? And then suddenly, by virtue of launching that refinery, they began to have a problem. The problem is sourcing for the crude oil that the refinery is going to use. All know that if a manufacturing company is unable to source for the raw materials needed for its manufacturing, that business is as good as dead. Now, guess what? I recently saw that Dangote is already considering the possibility of extracting crude oil by itself. Now, in that moment, what they started out with, want to refine. But by virtue of what is making it impossible for them to get the required crude oil, certain competition, right? Certain economic factors, certain industrial challenges, the powerful people that would not allow. Are you getting what I'm trying to say? So they got to some point and they say, okay, are we going to constantly begin to beg and appeal for us to get the crude oil that's going to make us survive and succeed? Or are we going to pivot in our chain of business and say, you know what, we are not shutting down this business, I'm only going to take a detour to go into the extraction or the creation of the crude oil by ourselves, such that in that way, what we have simply done is that instead of focusing on a singular value chain along the production line, we are also going into another value chain, such that by going into that value chain, we remove the control of some other persons, and then we give ourselves autonomy, be able to get the crude oil, refine the crude oil, sell out to some people. I was having a funny conversation with a friend of mine, I think 2 days ago, and he was like, you know what, the way this thing is going, we will not be surprised if Dangote opens up a filling station across the nation, where by themselves they take out the crude oil, they refine the crude oil, and they sell it directly by themselves. Now, what they have done is through the lens of pivoting, they played along the different value chain within the same, so that they can fight competition better. So to answer your question, what was one of the benefits? Number one is that we are able to compete better when we pivot. Number two is that we are able to open or tap into a new market that we never knew that we could have entered before. Now, let me use something as an example for this second point. I'm sure, ma'am, you will know, about this prayer. So I'm using a Christian, example, church example right now. So there are two major prayer platforms right now in Nigeria. We have the Next Level Prayer by Pastor Bolaji David and the NSPP by Jerry Eze. Now, these two prayer platforms, right, would not have been able to get the kind of influence and impact that they have today. They would never have been able to break into new market of UK, new market of Europe, new market of France, new market of this, new market of that, if they did not at a particular time along their service offering. So, for example, the service prayers, right? How do people consume prayer before? We go to church, pastor pray for us. We go to night vigil, we bind. Then at some point, they decided to pivot their business, offering the same service, but leveraging a new channel. By leveraging a new distribution channel, guess what they did? Able to enter into a new market that they would not have the opportunity of entering ever, simply because why? Pivot. So the second thing that gets to us, or the second benefit, or the untapped advantage, is that you are able to enter into new markets that you would not have had access to if you not pivot. The third thing that can happen when you pivot, that you can significantly cut down on your marketing budget. You can significantly cut down on the amount of money that you're spending in building, uh, building something. Let me give you a very good example. Now, for the longest time, Amazon existed, right, as a for selling at the beginning. It was a book, book, a bookstore that became an online store. And then because Amazon have built a brand for themselves, they've gotten large, market share. It became very easy for them to pivot products. Remember that in the example of the church, it was the same product that they pivot new channel. For Amazon, it is the same channel, the same customer, but they pivoted new products, such that if I have 1 million people already buying from me, and I've built what I call a brand, a strong brand image, it becomes very easy for me to sell something to these people and ask me plenty questions, because I've already do that. So sometimes pivoting can also help us increase, our revenue generation without necessarily increasing our budget, because we are only leveraging on what we already have to, to sell something new. Right. There are a whole lot of opportunities that are there, when businesses decide to pivot, and change maybe one or two things within their frame. But not to waste a lot of time on that question, I'm just going to leave the points that I've given.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. The only aspect you have not touched, you really dealt with the topic, the question very well, is the aspect of the potential risk. You giving various benefits and opportunities. What, maybe just in a nutshell, what would you say are potential risk of pivoting?
Oh, well, the truth of the matter is that there is nothing, this is the way we say that there is no gain
Nothing
without.
venture, nothing gain.
And guess what? The higher the risk of something, the higher the potential of making something out of it. Right. The truth of the matter is that if care is not taken at the point of pivoting, a business can die if it is not properly done. At
Done.
the point of pivoting, a business can lose its essence if it is not very well managed. Right. At the point of pivoting, right, you can lose customer loyalty if it is not properly done. For example, um, let's say you are, you are, I'm trying to think of an example now. Let's say you have a product and your customer already have an habit of consuming your product a certain way. Now, at the point of, okay, let me give you a very good example. Let's say this program you are doing, uh, let's say you generally have a lot of your customers, right, consuming from YouTube, for example, right? And then suddenly somebody mentioned to you, oh, you are leaving the Instagram audience unattended too. You then decided to pivot from YouTube to Instagram. But guess what? Your current customer, their consumption habit is that we only consume on YouTube. But because you're trying to pivot, you shut down YouTube and then you move to Instagram. What you have done is that at the point of pivoting, you did not put into consideration the
Existing
habits of
customer.
your customer, right? Because of that, the customer can be happy and say, did we tell you want to go to? Is it that on YouTube or we are not consuming at all? Then you say, I shall agree, I shall agree, I shall agree. It is Instagram that you must consume from. In that moment, you stand the risk of
Listen.
all of followers on YouTube. People strategically in that moment says that how do we get Instagram audience without losing the people we currently have on YouTube? So these are some of the things, but the truth of the matter is that there's no risk that comes from pivoting that cannot be managed if approach people from a very strategic angle.
I agree with you. The key word is the strategic management of the risk. Definitely,
Absolutely.
risk exists everywhere, including life. And in business, you are to take risk if you want more earnings, but it should be calculated risk. So those are the key words that we should watch out for. So thank you very much. In all this, we will definitely need resources and capabilities. Pivoting involves doing certain things differently, and perhaps like the pivoting game, it requires taking a leap. So it will require resources and capabilities. So what would you say that we will be able to access, or how do we access the necessary resources, for instance, financial, human, technological, to execute a pivot effectively? Because we have mentioned the risk of not managing it well. So not executing it very well also falls into that category. So how do we access resources?
Thank you very much for that question. That's a very good question, actually. Um, the way to think about resources at the point of pivoting is largely driven by which aspect of your business do you want to pivot. Now, when we talk about pivoting, there are different aspects of your business that you can decide to pivot around. The first one is your target customers. So I can say, oh, before now, I was serving, you know, 27 to 35-year-old, but now I want to start serving 65 to 75-year-old people. That is you pivoting based on your target customers, right? So, for example, I am making clothes, right? I can say, oh, I want to move from making clothes for women to making clothes for. That is pivoting relative to target customer. The second thing that you can pivot on is the market segment. Now, market segment is, for example, our market, right? So even though I want to make fabrics,
There with us, I think that's a network challenge. Our guest will be back. But the point the point he's making is on the aspect of our business that we have decided to pivot on, because it may not necessarily be the whole business. We can pivot on segments of our business depending on the factors that is making us to have that decision made. So I hope he joins us quickly. But my take on that is that we need to actually do our homework to know what is involved in getting the pivoting scheme through successfully. Okay, is back. Okay, please go ahead, Boluwatife. Bolu, can you speak up? Okay, like I was saying, maybe before he's able to come up again, on that score, you need to know what you require in terms of financial resources. You need to know the skill set, the manpower requirements for the level of pivoting or the extent you want to take your new change or new move, turning the business around, the level you want to take it to will also determine by the type of skill set that you require. The management skill, you need to determine if you have it in-house or do you have to engage or collaborate with those who already are in such businesses or even outsource. So those are things you need to take into account. You also need to take into recognition the technological aspect, because all aspects of our life these days are business are being taken over with technology, and it's for better because it enables us to perform more efficiently. So we need to look at what we have currently, determine what we need to help us to pivot to the level where we want to. Okay, our guest is back. So you can land on your thoughts, Boluwatife, on this question.
Okay, apologies for that. My internet
No
threw me out.
problem. Yeah,
Um,
understand.
all right, so I was talking about the fact that depending on the area of your business that you want to pivot, that's what will determine the kind of resources you're looking at. So I said you can pivot around your target customer, you can pivot around your market segment, you can pivot around your distribution channel, you can pivot around your pricing strategy, and you can pivot around industry completely. That means you can leave one industry completely and enter another industry. So, depending on the type of pivoting that you want to do or which area of your business you want to pivot, will determine the kind of resources that you're going to need. Now, the question then is, what are the kind of resources that you need? The first, of course, oftentimes are not the most important, is actually competencies and skills, right? Um, because for you to be able to move successfully, you will need, right, somebody that has the right skill and competencies to drive the new element you are bringing into your business. So you need to be able to sit down and do an evaluation. What are the skills and competencies that are required in this thing that we are trying to do? If it is a customer target that you are trying to pivot around, for example, you need to ask yourself, do we have enough data about the new customer segment you are trying to enter? If we don't, let us first of all equip ourselves with all the knowledge that we need. So the first thing is skill and competencies. The second thing, oftentimes are not, particularly because of the world where we exist in right now, is technology. Now, for most pivots in the climate that we are in currently, technology plays a major role, right? Because most of the time you are trying to automate something, you are trying to make something faster, you are trying to make something easier, you are trying to, do a lot around, your channel and all of those things. So technology is very, very important as a skill or as a resources. In some cases you may even need to begin to think of buying certain IT solutions, right, that will make it possible for you to drive certain things. Now, the third thing is also financials, and which is why when it comes to a business, managing liquidity can never be overemphasized, because the moment your liquidity has problem, to pivot becomes a problem, because pivoting will require that you are, like I said earlier, will require that you are bringing a number of things into your business. Bringing things into your business requires that you use money, right? So without liquidity, it becomes very difficult for you to pivot. That's why you notice that some people, they are trying to pivot in a particular way. They don't have the money to get maybe the skills and the competencies that they require. So they bring, let's say, an IT person into their business and they make the person a partner, or they give the person equity in their business. Why? Because they lack liquidity, and then they are trying to use something else to pay for what they need. So one thing that we need to understand as a business person is that for you to be able to pivot effectively, you cannot overemphasize. You cannot overemphasize. You cannot overemphasize liquidity. Another thing that is also very, very important, a lot of people don't think about, is data. Data is very important. You don't just pivot for pivoting sake.
Mm.
Every decision to pivot is always driven by the volume of data that you have in front of you. So if you are not given to data gathering, data collection, then as a business that is looking to pivot and save different elements of their business, you will need to begin to invest from now into data capture, such that your decision is no longer intuition. Rather, it is data driven. A decision to pivot can be intuitive at the beginning, but it is only substantiated on the basis of the data that we have. If you don't have the right data, then it is very possible that you are going to pivot in a way that will land you in trouble.
Thank you very much. On the landing point, it's necessary for us to have enough data to be able to make an informed decision. That is very key. Don't get midstream of your pivoting scheme and find out that there are things you should have done in a different way from what you are doing it. It could be more costly and it could even hinder the success of your pivoting at that moment. Thank you very much. Now, how do we determine strategic alternatives that may be available, and how do we align them with our long-term goals or mission?
All right, thank you very much, Mark. I think one thing that is also very important to state here is that if, as an organization, you don't have a strategic objective, then you have not even started, because your strategic objective becomes a driver of every decision that you make. I was talking to a business owner a couple of weeks ago, and she was asking me what exactly is a strategic objective, right? Strategic objective, I was almost lost, like, okay, where start from if as a business person you are asking me the question, what's a strategic objective, right? But again, usually, every organization will have their long-term plan, which is their vision, 5, 10, 15 years vision. Now, based on your vision, you scale it down to our strategic objective, or what we call a strategic focus. Now, a strategic focus is one thing that we have seen, that out of these 5, 6, 7 things that we are doing, what one thing that are we what one or two, three things is it that they are very important, that when we focus on right now, they are going to move us faster towards the achievement of our strategic vision at the end of the day. Now, for us to always be in alignment and to not lose focus or to not derail, is that number one, our vision must be clear. Number two, our strategic objective per time must also be very clear. Now, this is one of the things I've seen people do. A lot of people don't know why they are in business, to be honest. And that is why they find it very difficult to pivot, because they feel like they are in business for. So let me give you a very good example. Uh, you are not doing this program, for example, to be able to build a YouTube algorithm. For example, even let's say you are using YouTube as your channel. Now, you are doing this because you want to connect with as many people as possible, millions, tens of millions of people as much as possible globally. So what does that mean? Because we know the major reason why we are here, it becomes very easy to pivot, change, move, be flexible in between. Somebody can say that, oh, there's another platform that in one show you are going to talk to like 30 million people, right? I will be a stupid person to say, no, I'm not going there, because of it's YouTube you are trying to build. Is YouTube. So for example, we can start out at the beginning of the year that our strategic focus for 2024 is to reach 20,000 subscribers on YouTube. But if in the course of the year somebody says to me that, oh, have you heard of XYZ platform? It has more followership, it's easier to grow, right? And then you can be able to times 4 of this your strategic focus for YouTube in 3 months on this platform, right? Because I know that getting 20,000 subscribers on YouTube is a means to an end. It becomes very easy for me to dance with my means, because I know that my means is still is flexible. It is my end that is casted in stone. As long as any means can move me there, then I am open to trying and experimenting. So the way to answer the question that you asked, the first thing that every business owner needs to be able to answer is what truly is our strategic vision. Why are we in business, right? Let's say it is to make money, right? The moment we know that that is what we are here for, our means goal or our means strategy or our strategic objective from time to time can shift this way, can shift that way, because what is the most important thing is what we are trying to go to, not necessarily the strategies we are using in a season. What I've seen a lot of businesses do is that because a strategy is not working, they gave up on the very reason why they came into business in the first place. Instead of them to be flexible with strategy for the purpose of the reason why they came into business. So the only way to ensure that there is alignment at every given time, the only way to ensure that you don't lose your essence, don't lose your identity, is when you keep your vision in front of you as a business. You constantly remind yourself of why you came into the business, and then you recognize that all of your strategy, they are all means to an end, and it is okay for you to dance left or right with them. Just to be able to close out on that, ma'am, I remember at the earliest stage of Facebook, I heard that there's this principle that we call the one goal principle, and that is the singular thing that Mark Zuckerberg used at the earliest stage of Facebook. So they said, according to some of the material that I saw, that is very open to any suggestion and any idea. The only thing he's going to ask is, does this move us closer to our strategic objective or not? If it moves us closer, fantastic, we align with it. If it does not move us, we trash it. The only thing that determines what we do or what we don't do is whether it is moving us closer, moving us further from what our strategic, vision is as an organization. So the most important thing is keep your vision constantly in front of you, and let it be the lens through which you are making your decision on which area of your business you are pivoting and which one you are not, doing anything about. Actually.
Thank you very much, Bolu. But let me correct you. At the beginning of this show, I told you what the show is all about. Mine is not to reach millions of people all over the world. It's actually to add value to business enterprise, personal growth, and to make sure that I also am giving my own contribution back to society to impact people's life. So you are contributing by coming into the show, sharing your insight as well, because people are gaining, and that way they will also be able to pivot better in their
Mm,
businesses, and even those that are yet to start business. So we cannot lose that focus. That is our vision, and that's the mission, and that's why we bring experts on each topic that we have to make sure that we get better insight into them. So thank you very much. I know you are going to push me to this corner, because the way you are going, definitely we will have a second part, because we are not even covered half of our question. But there's no way I can stop it because it's very interesting. You are getting deep into the subject matter, and that's the essence of the show, to make people have required knowledge to get them well prepared for success in business. So I'm really glad that you are doing all this. So if we have to do a second part, no worries at all. So I'm not going to stop you from dishing out as you are dishing. But I would say, because of time, because we have to work within the limited time, maybe you can just give a parting shot, because I've already told you we'll have a second part. You can give a parting shot on what has been done today, because those are the critical ones anyway, and giving us a parting shot in just 2 minutes, then we'll be able to wrap up the show for today. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, ma'am. To give a parting word to our listeners today, um, pivoting is one of the major things that can help you move that to your business objective really quickly. So, maybe it is time for you to begin to really think about it. That what area of your business can you pivot today that will move you closer to your end? Remember that pivoting is not about losing the essence of your business. Rather, pivoting is all about making sure that you're traveling faster and your business is not coming to extinction. Don't be too protective of your business to the point that you by yourself kill it. Embrace change, embrace flexibility, go out there, move your business to the next level, and magic happen for yourself. Thank you very much, man.
Thank you very much, Bolu. Once again, I want to appreciate you highly. You can see the passion, and I wish we can just go on and on. But definitely, I promise our viewers that we'll bring Bolu back. He has tempted us, so definitely he has to make the time for us to have the second part to this, so that we can land very well on this very interesting topic. So we appreciate you, Tolu, for your insight, great insight today, and for always willing to partner with us to add value to people's life. It's a great thing that you are doing, and we thank you for the insight and making us to share out of your Sunday evening. Thank you very, very much, Bolu.
Thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. So
Yes, ma'am.
time is fast spent. I will just do a brief wrap up, not too much, because we've had quite exhaustive look at each point or each question that we have been able to cover so far. But the issue that I want us to take home today is to look at why we need to pivot. We need to look at our current status in terms of business standing, and checking it back with our vision and the mission. We must always do that alignment so that we don't go off the track. So we'll check and then know, for the four reasons he gave us, that yes, the time is right for us to pivot. The time must be right. Don't follow the Joneses to just pivot for pivoting's sake. Our guest said that much. We must have a reason, a needed reason to pivot. That is one. And one of such is competition in the market, current industry change, and your need to improve from upscaling your activity to be in alignment with your goal. And then we know what is happening in our economy today. Things are so difficult. You need to also look at how you'll be able to survive it and not go down with the uh, avalanche of problems that is going on. So that's one reason. And then before, when we have decided that it's time for us to pivot, what does it require? What do we require in terms of finances, in terms of skill set? These are very important factors that we must look at before we take that bold step, so that we don't stop midstream, we don't commit resources and find out that we cannot take it all through, and we would have wasted our resources that way. So we must do whatever is going to give us a better advantage from wherever we are at the moment. So so many other things to go over, and that is the reason why we said we need to have a second part to this topic that we have covered, because our guests really went deep, and that is for our benefit as well. So I want to appreciate all of you that have been able to join us today, and we appreciate all our regular online audience that usually join us. Taiwo Ojo from Abuja, Dr. Seyin. We have Kehinde Oshinuga, I believe, streaming from Dublin, if I'm not wrong. Then Pastor Sheyi, also from streaming from London. Thank you for joining us and for keeping up with Connect with Comfort show. The world is changing, and we all know it, and it's at an unprecedented pace. So shifts in technology, customer expectation, economic conditions, as we have pointed out, are challenges that we all face, and makes us to rethink our traditional mode of operation. Now, we need to have the ability to pivot, and it's not just changing for changing sake. It has to be strategically done. It's a necessity for survival and growth. But let us remember, a pivot is not a reckless change, and is a calculated, well informed move. That's why we are talking of data gathering before we do anything. That will now make us to align with our vision, to be forward looking, and to be willingness to adapt and increase our strength for more future demands. The road ahead requires us to remain vigilant, agile, and innovative. We must continually assess our position and ensure that every pivot we make is guided by purpose, data, and our shared goal. So let us go forward, getting ready to lead, to embrace new possibilities, and to create resilience that can withstand the challenges of tomorrow. Once again, I appreciate all of you for joining us. I hope you have enjoyed today's show. If so, please remember to subscribe to my YouTube channel, Comfort Eyitayo. Once you have subscribed, please turn on the notification button, like and share our videos. Stay updated with information about our upcoming events, solutions, and offer on my Instagram account at Comfort Eyitayo, as well as my Facebook at Comfort Eyitayo. Till I come your way again, let's make every pivot count. Thank you very much. God bless.